Maximum Happiness course. So many of us unnecessarily deny ourselves the happiness that is our birthright. Everyone on the planet has a unique ability to bring something different to the world, something valuable to offer. This course will help you become your own therapist to release your true potential for happiness. And it's a lot easier than you think. Simple, easy steps to happiness and well-being are yours to claim. The Maximum Happiness course, available online at www.maximumhappiness.co.uk. Welcome to this first session of the Maximum Happiness course, Session 1, What is Happiness? Happiness is a primary purpose of all human beings. Every faith and philosophy offers its own pathway to happiness. We'll not attempt to provide instant, detailed solutions, but we'll start with a simple overview as a first step to helping you locate your own path to becoming happier. There are common fundamentals to sustained happiness, in addition to there being common reasons for unhappiness. These exist no matter the gender, the age, or the race of the individual. Happiness depends in part on external instances and partially on oneself. With each session, the course will help you to clarify your thinking and work out your own path to becoming happier. The dictionary definition of happiness is feelings of joy and pleasure mingled together. But a feeling of happiness is more than just an experience of joy or pleasure. It is a state of mind where the individual feels that life is good. There is a third level of happiness, contentment. So, what is the difference between each of the types of happiness? Let's look at that. Pleasure. Pleasure is happiness of the body. It can be warm, thrilling, misty, physical, sensual, and arousing. As such, pleasure is dependent upon an external stimulus, such as a sound, a touch, a smell, or a visual to exist. It cannot exist on its own. Pleasure quickly comes and just as quickly disappears. Contentment. Contentment is happiness of the world. It's all about satisfaction with life. Contentment requires content of some description to enable it to exist. For example, I'm happy because the work on my house is completed now. Or, I'm content with my body right now. Again, contentment needs a because. Because your house is completed, you are content. As such, it's fragile, as contentment can come and go with changes in circumstances. Joy. Joy is happiness of the spirit. This is the highest level of true happiness the human spirit can attain. When you have it, it accompanies you wherever you go. Physical pleasures and worldly contentment may come and go, but joy is everlasting and never dies. Joy is the most natural form of happiness, totally unconditional and non-judgmental. In medical circles, the experience of being happy can be described as having an abundance of the chemical neurotransmitter serotonin in the brain. When the levels of serotonin in the brain are too low, you can expect to experience a decrease in well-being and happiness. Many antidepressant medications work either by increasing the amount of serotonin in the brain or by increasing your brain's receptivity to it. However, too much serotonin in the brain can also create feelings of sadness and unhappiness. Therefore, chemical happiness alone can be quite a challenging balancing act in the long term. There are as many definitions of happiness as there are people on the planet, each of us having our own personal interpretation of what happiness means to us. For each and every one of us, one particular interpretation of happiness seems to apply to us all, and that is universal happiness, which goes something like this. Happiness is being yourself, the real authentic you, not the limited self that you pretend to be most of the time, but the real you, under the layers of pretense, behind the masks that you are forced to wear to protect yourself and others from hurt, pain and criticism. We all want to be loved, liked or admired for the authentic people that we really are. We may wear a mask of courage or false knowledge and experience to suit the circumstances. We may even receive recognition and praise for what we achieve whilst wearing the mask. But any such recognition feels hollow because it's directed at the mask we're wearing, not the real person behind it. Happiness is a state of mind which can be induced by many means. Some result in short-term happiness, while others result in long-lasting happiness. For a busy person, a practical way to become happier is to make steady progress towards meaningful goals. Even though this seems so simple, it really is a very powerful technique to acquire long-lasting happiness. Goals can vary from individual to individual, but for everyone, happiness comes from merely making steady progress towards goals that are meaningful for you. The key is that the goals have to be meaningful for you. Progress towards someone else's goals rarely brings you the happiness that you want, unless you genuinely desire the same goals. Your goals must align with your core values and not those of others. We'll explore core values in a later session. Any unhappiness that we experience is often not as deep-rooted as we might think, but simply the flip side of the coin of happiness. We must allow ourselves the freedom to accept that unhappiness and happiness can reside quite contentedly side by side. The thoughts expressed in these sessions will hopefully provide you with some inspiration for you to make the positive decision to choose happiness. There is so much suffering in this world. Many people don't seem to be as happy as they'd like to be. Those that don't have enough are struggling just to survive, while those who have all the comforts of life may find themselves becoming self-absorbed, spoiled, or worried about losing what they do have. Many people are living frantic lives with little time available for simpler pleasures, such as appreciating the beauty of nature, sharing blessed moments with our loved ones, or quietly appreciating the joy of being alive. Instead, large multitudes of unhappy people rush through cities and towns, getting themselves in all kinds of messes. Some are trying to dig their way out of financial debt, while others are making arrangements for a marriage or a divorce, or perhaps even a second or third marriage or divorce. Parents are speeding home so they can get the kids to drama class on time, in between football and dance practice, driving here and there, and perhaps picking up some bags of shopping and the occasional speeding ticket on the way home. Many find themselves barely making it through each day in time to get a few hours of sleep before getting up to do it all over again. It's a bit like Groundhog Day, the movie. Some people fill their daily lives with activity in the belief that it will somehow bring happiness. With so much to do, who has the time to look for happiness, to go hunting for it, and to find happiness? We were born in a state of happiness. That is our natural state, our basic nature. Happiness is our pure state before we found it necessary in the adult world to apply our masks and our limitations. If the bookshelves and magazines on the topic are anything to go by, the pursuit of happiness seems to be a very big deal indeed. It's part of our natural instinct to pursue happiness, the same way we seek to experience physical pleasure and avoid physical pain. We seek emotional pleasure and attempt to avoid emotional pain. Our emotional enjoyment, or what we can call happiness, is simply part of human nature. The pursuit of happiness and emotional well-being is one of the all-encompassing motivations that people have once they've met their basic survival needs. When a person is physically comfortable and no longer driven by the fear of starving or freezing to death, emotional pleasure becomes a primary pursuit. Happiness may take many forms, but it is the underlying motivator in most of our decisions. A large part of feeling good in the mind is about avoiding what we believe feels painful or potentially painful. This includes using compensating strategies, like buying a large new car to keep emotionally painful fears and beliefs at bay. Compensating strategies don't eliminate fear-based beliefs, but people rely on them a lot to keep their fears managed and at bay. So, where do most people go to satisfy their pursuit of happiness? They try to satisfy the question in their mind that asks them what they have to do in order to feel good. That might also mean doing things to compensate for fears and beliefs of something painful happening. The end goal is happiness, and all the beliefs, fears, assumptions and perceptions in the mind dictate the path. You can find these beliefs hiding behind thoughts or comments like, "I'll be happy when," or I would feel much better if. In the pursuit of physical enjoyment, we get direct feedback. With emotional enjoyment, we often have a barrier of beliefs and assumptions that filter our efforts. Disillusioned career choices, broken-hearted relationships, and midlife crisis indicate that our assumptions about happiness often miss the mark. Most of what we have embedded in our mind about what makes us happy and unhappy comes from other people or those marketing agencies that are blitzing us with messages every day. And this doesn't address our individual inspirations and aspirations. I'm going to talk to you now about a case study about a young girl who wanted to become a dancer. From her early childhood, Sally experienced little encouragement or approval from her father. In everything she did, it seemed that she just wasn't good enough in his eyes. In schooling, gymnastics and dancing events, when she was placed anything other than first, her father would remark that her performance was just okay. Through her teenage years and into adult life, Sally desperately wanted her father's approval. Harder and harder she trained until finally she was being placed first in almost every competition that she entered. Even then, her father would point out the other girls, saying that they were better than Sally or prettier than Sally. Her childhood desire to please her father created a perfectionist in the character of her adult life, constantly trying to please and seek the approval of others. Like all of us, Sally is only human, and despite her efforts, she wasn't perfect. When things didn't go her way, in relationships, financial affairs, as a parent herself, and in her career and work life, she fell into states of depression, feeling that once again she was just okay and not good enough to stand out. Sally had become mentally conditioned and programmed to believe that happiness lay in her always being perfect. Anything less and she would consider herself not good enough, just like her father said. The erroneous belief that happiness lay in being perfect at everything deprived Sally of much of the happiness that she would have had otherwise for a large part of her life. In later years, Sally was able to reframe the expectations in her mind to what she believed was more realistic, rather than the perfect performance that she'd believed others always expected of her, including her father. That change alone lessened the feeling of not feeling good enough. She replaced it with best efforts for herself. As a result, her levels of happiness and contentment soared. There are other problems with the approach of chasing the mental assumptions of what will make us happy. What happens when our mind tells us what we have to do to be happy, but we haven't got there yet? We haven't met the mental criteria at that point. Suppose we believe that we'll be much happier if we lose 15 pounds. Our mind can set us up with the thought to be less happy with our body because we haven't met the requirements for being happy yet. When we let our belief system determine the criteria for being happy, we unconsciously define more reasons to be unhappy. In later sessions, we'll look at our belief systems in detail and how we can test and change our beliefs for more satisfactory outcomes. So what if the mind's criteria for feeling better emotionally are dependent upon things that we can't control? Perhaps we want a promotion or recognition at work. We can certainly do things to help our case here, but we can't force promotion or appreciation. Our mind now uses these external factors as justifications to conclude that we are not as happy as we might be. We end up unhappy because we can't change those external circumstances and factors. If we don't change the criteria in our mind, we miss a valuable opportunity for happiness. The pursuit of happiness has turned into a struggle to get recognised and promoted. Not because it will make us any happier directly, but because our belief system has set the bar of happiness at this height. We might very well get the promotion or a raise and recognition, only to discover that we're not filled with the joy that we hoped we would be. Our pursuit of happiness has turned into a pursuit of assumptions in our belief system. The stumbling block is that we accepted our false beliefs as being true. If we aren't aware of how belief structures limit happiness, we are likely to try and change external factors in order to be happy. And trying to change factors that we can't control will only lead to us feeling frustrated, powerless, and even more unhappy. To live in authentic happiness, we need to learn not to blindly chase the false beliefs in the mind. We have to pay close attention to the end goal of emotion and not jump after the first idea the mind offers up as a means to get there. When we pursue happiness by satisfying the belief system, we have taken our eye off the goal and become attached to the assumptions, expectations, and beliefs in the mind. A new car, new clothes, or losing 15 pounds is just a means to an emotion based on a belief. A belief can change, and then the emotion shifts. When we don't have an understanding of our beliefs, becoming happy is a moving target that is likely to get away from us. Managing our expectations. It's pretty clear that unrealistic expectations can ruin your chances of ultimate happiness. Our expectations, more than anything else in life, determine our reality. When it comes to achieving our goals, if we don't believe we'll succeed, it's almost certain that we won't. People who believe in themselves use more metacognitive functions than those who don't. This means that they use more of their brains and have more brain power to solve problems. Metacognition is especially important for achievement, as it ensures that you approach problems from many different angles and adapt your approach as you need to. The tricky thing about our expectations is that they impact other people too. As far back as the 1960s, Harvard research demonstrated the power of our beliefs in swaying other people's behaviour. When teachers in the studies were told that certain randomly selected children were smart, those kids performed better, not only in the classroom, but also in standard IQ tests. Indeed, we get the most out of other people when we believe in them. This is what happens when we believe in someone. Number one, we treat them better than people we think will fail. Number two, we give them more opportunities to succeed than we give to those we think will fail. Number 3, we give them more accurate, helpful feedback than we give others. And 4, we do more teaching because we believe it's time well spent. Letting your doubts cloud your belief in someone or something practically ensures their failure. Medical professionals call this the nocebo effect. Patients who have low expectations for medical procedures or treatments tend to have poorer results than those who expect success, even with regards to well-established treatments. If a doctor uses a treatment with a clinically verified high rate of success but presents it in a negative light, the probability of a negative outcome increases. Our expectations shape our reality. They can change our life emotionally and physically, which will naturally affect our experience of happiness and well-being. We need to be extra careful about the expectations that we harbour, as the wrong ones make life unnecessarily difficult with frequent disappointments. There are certain expectations we should be especially wary of, as they give people all kinds of trouble. 1. Life should be fair. We've all been told a million times, and likely told many other people, that life just isn't fair. But in spite of what we know about the intricacies of injustice, it's a concept that doesn't quite sink in practice. A surprising number of us subconsciously expect life to be fair, and we believe that any unfairness that we do experience will somehow be balanced out, even if we don't do anything about it. If we're stuck in that mindset, we have to get over it. When something unfair happens, we mustn't rely on outside forces to get us back on our feet. Sometimes there isn't any consolation prize, and the sooner we stop expecting there to be one, the sooner we can take actions that will actually make a positive difference to our happy emotional state. Number 2, opportunities will just fall into my lap. One of the most important things a person can do is stick his or her neck out and seek opportunity. Just because you deserve a raise, a promotion or a company car doesn't mean it's just going to happen as if by magic. You have to make it happen. You have to put in the hard work, then go and get what's yours. If we limit ourselves to what's given to us, we're at the mercy of other people. When you take action, think, what steps do I need to take? What obstacles are in my way? And what do I need to do to remove them? And what mistakes am I making that take me away from my goals rather than moving toward them? Number 3, everyone should like me. People have hang-ups, and that means that all sorts of decent, kind, respectable people are not liked by some other people for no good reason at all. When you think that everyone should like you, you end up with hurt feelings when you shouldn't. You can't win them all. When you assume that people are going to like you, you take shortcuts. You start making requests and demands before you've laid the groundwork to really understand what the other person is thinking and feeling. Instead of expecting that people will like you, focus on earning their trust and respect. Number 4, people should agree with me. This one can be a little bit tough. Sure, you know what you're talking about, and for that reason people should take you seriously. But expecting people to agree with you out of courtesy or because your ideas are so incredibly sound is unrealistic, and it's another story. Something that's obvious to you might not be so obvious to someone with different experiences and a different agenda. So stop being offended when people disagree with you, and stop assuming that there is only one right answer, yours. Instead, focus on how you can find solutions that give more people what they need. 5. People know what I'm trying to say. People can't read your mind, and what you're trying to say is rarely what other people hear. You can't expect people to understand you just because you're talking. You have to be clear. Whether you're asking someone to do something without providing the context, or explaining a complex concept behind a big project. It's easy to leave out relevant information because you don't think it's necessary or relevant. Communication isn't anything if it isn't clear, and your communication won't be clear until you take the time to understand the other person's perspective. 6. I'm going to fail. As we've touched on already, if you expect to fail, you stand a higher chance of creating the very outcome that you're worried and most fearful of. If you fail, accept that sometimes you will fail, and sometimes you'll succeed. But if you pursue an endeavour, believe with all of your being, with all of your heart, that you're going to succeed. Otherwise, you'll limit the chances of that happening. 7. Things will make me happy. Sure, things can make life more fun and comfortable in the short run, but they can't make you happy in the long term. Too many of us expect a future event, like I'll be happy when I get that promotion, to make us happy, instead of looking more deeply into the real causes of our unhappiness. If you don't fix what's going on inside, no external event or item is going to make you happy, no matter how much you want it to. 8. I can change him or her. There's only one person in this world that you can truly change, and that's yourself. And even that takes a tremendous amount of effort. The only way that people change is through the desire and wherewithal to change themselves. Still, it's tempting to try to change someone who doesn't want to change, as if your sheer willpower and desire for them to improve will change them, as it might have done for you. You might even actively choose people with problems, thinking that you can fix them. Let go of this faulty expectation. Build your life around genuine, positive people, and avoid problematic people that bring you down. Bringing it all together. Believing that you'll succeed really does make it more likely that you will. It also means that you'll need to let go of some erroneous expectations that will only get in your way. Happiness and fulfillment in life and our work is a right and not a privilege for the chosen few. The pursuit of happiness is a part of our personal constitution and makeup as a living being. It is every human being's birthright, and it is within every person's possibility and capability to achieve. To be successful in your pursuit of happiness, you'll need to dissolve the assumptions, manage your expectations, and validate the beliefs in your mind that may interfere with your authentic happiness. How being happy makes you healthier. Emerging research shows that being happier doesn't just make you feel better, it actually brings a host of potential health benefits. Let's explore the ways in which being happy may make you healthier. Happiness promotes a healthy range of lifestyle habits that are important for overall health. Happy people tend to eat healthier diets with a higher intake of fruits, vegetables and whole grains. Diets rich in fruit and vegetables have consistently been associated with a range of health benefits, including lower risks of diabetes, stroke and heart disease. Regular physical activity helps build strong bones, increase energy levels, decrease body fat and lower blood pressure. What's more, being happier may also improve your sleeping habits and practices, which is important for concentration and productivity, exercise performance and maintaining a healthy weight. Happiness appears to boost the immune system, which is important for overall health. Research has shown that being happier may help keep your immune system stronger. This may help reduce your risk of developing colds and chest infections. In research studies, the least happy people were almost 3 times as likely to develop the common cold compared to their happier counterparts. What's more, happy people are more likely to take part in health promoting behaviours that we mentioned a few seconds ago that play a role in keeping the immune system strong. These include those healthy eating habits and regular physical activities. Being happy may help reduce your stress levels. Normally, excess stress causes an increase in the levels of cortisol, a hormone that contributes to many of the harmful effects of stress, including disturbed sleep, weight gain, type 2 diabetes and high blood pressure. A number of studies demonstrate that cortisol levels tend to be lower when people are happier. Happiness can protect the heart by reducing blood pressure, a major risk factor in heart disease. Again, a number of studies have shown that being happy has been associated with lower risks of heart disease. Being happy may help you live longer, and who wouldn't want that? Higher positive well-being was found to have a favourable effect on longevity, survival and reducing the risk of death significantly in healthy people, and to a slightly lesser extent in those with pre-existing conditions. Happier people may live longer because they commonly engage in those health promoting behaviours that we talked about earlier, such as exercise and a sensible diet. Arthritis is a common condition that involves inflammation and degeneration of the joints. It causes painful and stiff joints and generally worsens with age. A number of studies have found that higher positive well-being may actually reduce the pain and stiffness associated with arthritis. Happiness may also help reduce pain in other conditions too. Nearly 1,000 people were studied who were recovering from strokes, and they found that the happiest individuals had lower pain ratings after 3 months of leaving hospital. Ways to increase your happiness. Being happy doesn't just make you feel better. As you've heard, it's also incredibly beneficial for your health. Here are 6 scientifically proven ways to becoming happier. 1. Express gratitude. You can increase your happiness by focusing on the things that you're grateful for. One way to practice gratitude is to write down 3 things that you're grateful for at the end of each day. Number 2. Get active. Aerobic exercise, also known as cardio, is the most effective type of exercise for increasing your happiness. Walking or playing tennis won't just be good for your physical health, it'll also help boost your moods too. 3. Get a good night's rest. Lack of sleep can have a negative effect on your happiness. If you struggle with falling asleep or staying asleep, then you must check out the tips for getting a better night's sleep from a medical professional. 4. Spend time outside. Head outside for a walk in the park or get your hands dirty in the garden. It takes as little as 5 minutes of outdoor exercise to significantly improve your mood. 5. Now this is for those for who this is appropriate. Meditation. Regular meditation can increase happiness and also provide a host of other benefits, including reducing stress and improving sleep patterns. 6. That old favourite, eat a healthier diet. And as we've heard, studies have shown that the more fruit and vegetables you eat, the happier you will be. What's more, this will also improve your health in the long run. In a later session, we'll learn how being happy creates positive effects in the neural activity in the brain that have further positive outcomes for our state of happiness and well-being. To summarise then, being happy promotes a healthy lifestyle. It may also help combat stress, boost your immune system, protect your heart and reduce pain. What's more, it may even increase your life expectancy. While research is consistently revealing more positive effects of happiness, there's no reason you can't start prioritising your happiness right here, now. Focusing on the things that make you happy will not only improve your life, it may help extend it too. What follows is a short video, How to be Happy. Discover how controlling your thoughts can change your life for the better. Claim the happiness and fulfillment that is your natural birthright. The Maximum Happiness course with free guidebook. www.maximumhappiness.co.uk. How to be happy is a powerful question to ask. Our personal definitions of happiness might differ, but scientists view happiness as a combination of how satisfied you are with your life and how good you feel on a daily basis. It varies from person to person, but approximately 40% is controlled by your thoughts, actions and behaviours. 50% is genetically determined and 10% is determined by your circumstances. Contrary to popular belief, we get used to our circumstances over time, so they don't play as large a part of our level of happiness as we might think. Happiness is a skill you can build with consistent practice. You have the ability to control how fulfilling your life is. Keep in mind that happiness is not about feeling hunky-dory all the time. It's not having all the money you could ever want. It's not about refusing to see the negative stuff in the world, and it's not a final destination either. Happy people are healthier people because they have lower rates of cardiovascular disease. They have better immunity, they heal faster after injuries, they're more likely to have a healthy diet, and they live longer too. It's also healthier to have steady levels of moderate happiness over time rather than spikes of extreme happiness. And your happiness isn't just about you. Happy people are more productive at their study or jobs. They typically have deeper relationships with others. They help other people and volunteer more. They're more likely to donate money to charity, and they're more creative problem solvers. You can increase your happiness in the long term by nurturing relationships, having new experiences and helping others, or just by being grateful for what you have. You can get even more happiness out of a good experience by savouring it. Use all your senses. Pay attention to sight, sounds, smells and feelings. Pay attention to the little details of a great experience. Share it with someone else. And linger and dwell on the moment. Savouring experiences makes us more grateful, happy and hopeful, whilst reducing levels of stress, guilt and depression. Good experiences strengthen parts of the brain connected with happiness. 3 things that will kill your happiness over time are comparing yourself to others, a lack of close friendships, or holding on to resentment. People who have experienced some adversity in life are actually happier than those who never experienced any. After adversity, once we've got some distance and perspective, making sense of our life's challenges helps us to shape our identities, increase our resilience, cope better with current stresses, and become more optimistic about the future. Feeling connected to a deeper purpose, mission or direction in life is key for our well-being. People who report having more meaning in their lives are more likely to have stable moods and show sociable behaviour. People of all ages report being happier when they have more meaning in their lives. Different ways people can find more meaning are through a fulfilling career. People who find meaning at work show more motivation and engagement on the job. And by raising children, 85% of parents think that their children bring them the most happiness and fulfillment of any relationship. Or through spirituality and religion. Studies show that people who are spiritual or religious tend to be happier. Besides meaning, it also gives people an inbuilt social network, and you can also get more meaning by pursuing goals that align with your core values, goals that will include commitment to something outside of yourself, such as friends, family or community, and goals that promote life satisfaction. Make time for your friends. On days when people spend 6 to 7 hours with friends or family, they're 12 times more likely to report feeling happy rather than stressed. People who work full-time experience most happiness on days when they spend 8 to 9 hours with friends and family. So make the most of your weekends. Being intentionally grateful is powerful too. Well-known researcher Brené Brown said that in 12 years of research, I've never interviewed a single person with the capacity to really experience joy who does not also actively practice gratitude. In one study, people who wrote down things they were grateful for once a week for 6 weeks felt happier and less depressed for up to 6 months. They repeated better sleep quality, and they were more likely to engage in healthy behaviours like exercise. Here are 5 ways to instantly boost your happiness. Spend 5 minutes doing something to brighten the day of someone you love. Email someone and thank them for something they did for you. Have a meaningful connection and conversation with a good friend. Take 30 seconds to help someone who needs it. Or just savour a memory, close your eyes and relive the happiest moment of your life. Some other tips to get into a state of flow by engaging in an activity that's enjoyable, that requires a degree of skill and is just enough of a challenge that you can feel in the zone, losing all sense of time. People who regularly practice mindfulness meditation have increased activity in the left prefrontal cortex, the area of the brain responsible for calm and happiness. And it helps to practice empathy. Take someone else's point of view. When others feel understood, you have a chance to build intimacy and well-being. When we compare countries, there are things that correlate between higher levels of happiness. Gross GDP per capita. freedom to make life choices, generosity and longevity. But the most important factor research has found is social support, or having someone to count on in times of trouble. Remember, happiness is a skill you can get better at. Thank you for listening. I wish you every happiness. That brings this first session to a close. Coming up in the next session, steps to happiness. The 10 key areas where you can dramatically improve the levels of your happiness. How to create happiness in one step, where to look for happiness, choosing happiness, what happiness is, and what obstructs it. Thank you.